80, 85, 90% of national share. Metros punch way above their weight. So Chicago is about 2/3 of the population of the state of Illinois. It's about 78% of the economic output of that state. Seattle is about half the population of the state of Washington. It is about 70% of the economic output of that state. 47 of the 50 states have a majority of their GDP generated by cities and metropolitan areas. The United States still thinks of itself as a network of small towns and rural states, but states like Nebraska and Iowa and Kansas and Arkansas are metropolitan states today. Now, metros are powerful and they drive economies because of the benefits of concentration and agglomeration. You've got large firms, you've got small and medium-sized enterprises, you've got universities, research institutions, you've got capital, banks, venture capital, and yes, you do have government, and you have labor, and you have environmental. All of that has this synergistic effect of enabling places to punch above their weight. The world may be flat, as Tom Friedman said. Actually, the world's really spiky in terms of where people live and where economic power resides. Top 100 metros, 2/3 of our population, 3/4 of our service exports, because that's mostly driven by talent, a little less on manufacturing. A lot of the manufacturing tends to be in places the size of Brownsville, like Fort Wayne or like Peoria, some of the smaller Midwestern places. When you think about what we are selling to China, India, and Brazil, chemical products, computer electronic products, business professional services, they are mostly in the top 100 metropolitan areas. These are the 4 supersized exporters in the United States. They're exporting more than $50 billion a year. There's another 6 that are exporting more than $25 billion a year. These 10 alone, and I'm not talking about the logistics of trade, goods coming through ports. This is what they produce in goods and services. These 10 alone are 30% of American exports. Another group of metros, however, are really export intense. They depend on exports for a bulk of their economy. 28% in Wichita, 20% in Portland, same amount in San Jose. This is how you build a wealth economy. Not surprisingly, and one of your speakers talked about this, metros are hubs, air hubs, rail hubs, seaports, land ports. And a large portion of our trade goes through a relatively small number of places, and this will change when the Panama Canal expands. It will radically change, particularly in a way which will have a huge effect on Texas. Clean economy, again, going back to those fast-growing, young, clean tech sectors, mostly in the top 100 metros. And since most people live in the top 100 metros, and most buildings, residential, commercial, industrial, office are in the top 100 metros, a lot of the green building is occurring in these places. Already we see, again, a group of 4 metros punching above their weight in the low-carbon economy. New York's got about 150,000 clean jobs already in the economy. There's a whole range of others that are now, including Houston, which frankly is the energy capital of the world. People think of it only as fossil fuels. Houston is getting into the clean economy business. It's just another part of the energy business. There's a different group of metros that have a high share of their economy, starting with Albany because of General Electric's location in Schenectady. A high portion of their jobs, 6% in Albany, dedicated, committed to clean economy. Innovation, metros are always the place where you aggregate your talent, your most educated citizenry, whether they have college degrees, whether they have graduate degrees. It's where you generate your patents. It's where you receive the NIH and NSF funding. And it's where almost all of the capital comes from, particularly for venture capital, for startups, for the firms today that become the industries of tomorrow. So we can talk about the United States as a network of small towns, what we really are, the reason why we are the predominant economy in the world, is because we are a network of metropolitan economies. Now, Texas is the quintessential metropolitan state. It may not think of itself that way, but that's what you are. You have 6 metropolitan areas in the top 100. Those 6 metros alone are 70% of your population, 74% of your economic output, and see the 87% of your science and engineering jobs. All of the Texas metros together are 88% of the population of this state, 89% of your economic output, and almost all of your science and engineering jobs. You know, a large portion of rural America actually is within these metros now, because the United States builds its cities and metros by sprawling outwards, right? And particularly in Texas, you like big spaces, so I hear. You've made sprawl an art form. So a large portion of rural Texas is inside your metropolitan areas. And that begins to enable the sort of synergy between urban living and the rural periphery. Brownsville, McAllen are exporting metros. You're not at the same level of export intensity that other metros in the United States are on average, but you sit on a border. You sit on an absolutely critical border with us. And again, as I said in the beginning, you orient yourself to the Spanish-speaking world in Mexico, in Central America, in Latin America. And that part of the world, which we used to call our backyard, where frankly, China is more involved than the United States today. This has to be an enormous part of our focus as we go forward. Clean economy jobs, you're not quite at the national average, but the last time I checked, there's a lot of sun here, you know. There's like an enormous amount of heat. It is a no-brainer for you to get into the clean economy. You've got the natural resources to do it. I mean, if Germany could be at the lead of solar technology, they haven't seen a sunny day since the 1970s. This part of the country can clearly get into this part of the business. Innovative capacity, and frankly, I'm showing some pieces here that are relevant and some that are not. Everyone always talks about innovative capacity with regard to patents. I'm more focused on manufacturing. I'm more focused on the United States once again becoming a manufacturing powerhouse, partly off of our military base, right? We're never, ever gonna outsource military production to another country, but partly just because as wages go up in China, as energy reliability goes down in many other parts of the world, as trade costs, logistics, transport costs move, we can make things again in the United States. And if we make things again in the United States and they relate to the universities, both in terms of the research you produce, but also the student talent that you educate, we can get back on track. I've been with a group of people, I'm not sure I'm as religious about this, but there are a group of economists who basically believe that advanced manufacturing, high quality manufacturing, rapid response,